it gets our questions answered. So Steve, you also built a couple of other businesses, right, at the same time. So I want you to just talk a little bit about that and how you're able to do all of those at the same time. Because all of us in the room, I think, are trying to build real estate businesses, not so much, two other businesses.
Mm-hmm. Well, real estate was my first passion, and so out of necessity, because I did a great job for my clients, my referral business started growing to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore. So I hired my first assistant and trained my first assistant, and then she decided to go and homeschool her kids, and I said, oh, I'm never doing that again. You go to all this trouble to train somebody and get them in, and then she goes to homeschool her kids. Okay. That was thinking I just wanted to share with you. Okay. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we duplicate this? But here's what I found when that happened was I could not, for the life of me, it scared me to death to think that I would have to pay her $25,000 a year. And this is back in the 1980s. And it scared, how am I going to, $2,000 a month? How am I going to come up with that? And then I got to pay taxes and stuff on top. But I did it anyway because I saw my property management growing at the same time. And I had gotten up to 25, 35 properties, something like that. And that was taking up a lot of my time. But you don't make money on property management. That's just little bits of money. You've got to be big in property management in order to make money. So.
And our property management company that's in the room, they're nodding, right?
Yes.
You're like, yes, that's right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And our number one thing in Arizona, as far as fraud is concerned, is property management companies. We had one that stole $700,000 from their clients, and then we've all had small ones too, where somebody just didn't have enough money to pay their payment this month, so they only borrowed $800 or $1,000 or $2,000. So anyway, I had both of these, and the point is, I hired somebody else to come in and help me, specifically to do property management. And here's what I want. I want you to write down this word really, really big: specialization. Specialization. When you see a basketball team, a football team, a baseball team, any team in sports, nobody hires a general practitioner. So you see these two teeth right here that are kind of different colored than the rest of these teeth? My dad was a dentist, and when I was 8 years old, I dove off his shoulders into the swimming pool. I hit the bottom of the pool, and I busted these teeth all up, and these are caps. And I've had lots of different shades and variation of the caps. And my dad put those on. When I moved to Arizona, I needed a different dentist now. It was too far to go to the dentist's office. And so there was a time when I needed a root canal, and I said to the dentist, whatever you think. He goes, well, I don't do root canals. Oh, really? My dad did root canals. He goes, no, I specialize in just doing this general dentistry, and I send it off to the other. So then I talked to the guy that did the root canals, and he says, no, I just specialize in doing this part. And I got talking to him about it. I go, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. When we were kids, we used to go swimming at the orthodontist's house because he had the pool. Oh, maybe there's something to specialization. General practitioners versus brain surgeons. So when you started thinking specialization, so when I started building a team, I said, you know what, you're going to specialize in just do property management. Let's set a vision. Let's set a goal. Let's set where we're going to go in this business, and then over here in this business. So how many of you have a GPS for your business right now? Written out GPS. Okay, not enough of you. So without a written GPS, you can't share it with somebody else. And if you can't share it with somebody else, how are you going to leverage yourself? And if you can't leverage yourself, how can you be the best you can be if you don't have somebody supporting you? Because why is it that Michael Jordan says, if you don't keep Phil Jackson, I'm not staying with the Chicago Bulls? The best guy who'd ever played basketball, why did he say, if you don't keep Phil Jackson, I'm not playing with the Chicago Bulls? Because he knew that nobody succeeds alone. And so the faster that you can grow and build your organization to do one thing, serve your clients at the highest possible level, the faster you're going to grow and build your business. And the more that you get out of your own ego, saying, oh, my clients would only do business with me. That's stinking thinking. Because, and just take that to a logical level. You're basically saying, if you're thinking my clients will only do business with me, what you're believing is that the day that you die or retire, they will never do another real estate transaction again with anybody else. I don't know if that answered the question, but I can keep going on this. Okay. So I want to draw out real simply what a GPS is. Karen,
Yeah.
I got to move it. All right? So here's what I want you to think of. You guys know what March Madness is? Okay? So I just want you to think March Madness. So your GPS is this. I have one goal, that's the G. All right? And so in this case here, what's the goal? $1 million in GCI, 2 million GCI, 3 million, what is it?
Million.
Million in GCI. Okay, so 1 million in GCI. So this is a mental model that I want you to remember. This is running out of stuff, okay? So now you have 3 priorities, okay? And one of the things we know is you can't focus on more than 3 things at a time. So what are your 3 priorities? Well, how about if we went to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and we grabbed a mental model out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and we say, let's just use that for our focus. Well, the first one is, I've got to generate enough leads in order to create enough business to have that happen. Well, the next thing I need to do is I need to make sure that those leads turn into listings. And I'm going to measure both buyers and sellers' listings, because I don't work with a buyer unless they've hired me to work with them. Okay, and then the last part is leverage. Okay, so if you don't have, now, here's the thing. Here's my goal. I have one goal. I have 3 priorities, so that means there's only 3 things that I'm going to focus on in order to achieve my goal. And then the next part is, well, what are my strategies? Okay, that says strategies.
You can use that other pen.
Oh, okay. All right. So, listings. So what's my strategy to get listings? So what do you use for prospecting for listings? Give me an example. What works here? Okay, there you go. FSBOs. Expireds. Okay, what else?
Database.
Okay,
Task
yeah,
lines.
work your sphere of influence in your database. All right, now, here's the deal with strategies. Not more than 5. So it's 5 max. You're not going to do 10 strategies on something. There's an old proverb. It's a Hebrew proverb. And it says, without a plan, the people will perish. Without a plan, the people will perish. And the actual Hebrew definition of the word plan is boundaries. Without boundaries, the people will perish. So think about this. So here's your GPS. I got one goal, I have 3 priorities to focus on, and not more than 5 strategies to achieve each one of these things. For some of you, leverage might be a database that functions. For some of you, it might be, here's what I do, and then here's where I go get my leads, internet leads, prospecting, door knocking, whatever it is your strategy to make that work. So then here's what happens. Imagine this is you, and this is the universe of all ideas. And somebody comes to you and you go to this seminar and they say, here's a great idea for you. And then the next person goes to the seminar and says, here's a great idea. And you say, oh, that's a really good idea. And you go, oh, no, that one's a good idea. That one's a good idea. See, the deal is without boundaries, every good idea is a good idea. So the boundaries are right here. And you say, you know what, here's where I'm going to function. I'm going to function inside of these boundaries here. And as long as it's a good idea that matches up with my strategy to achieve my priority, then I'm going to do that. And all these others are for the other people that don't have a plan. So my strategy was, I had to get people. I had to get people. I went through 8 property managers before I got the one that took me from 85 properties to 250.
And you shared with them your GPS on where you wanted to go, right?
Oh, yeah. See, without this, but here's the deal. Without this, talent's not going to join your team. If you're not specific and know where you're going to go and how you're going to take them, talent is not interested in you. If you're winging it, they're not there. Because of their talent, they can wing it probably better than you. But if you've got a systematized, clear mission and vision for where you're taking and you share that with people. So I'm growing and building my team, and First American Title was my title company right next door. And my escrow officer says, Steve, tell me about your team. Tell me how that works. And I said, here's what I think. I think we need specialization. So, can I write on this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I am, and it's Happy Steve, and I'm lead generating, and I'm working my database. I've been in business for however many years, right? And the leads are coming in, and there's two types of leads. I have seller leads, okay? And I have buyer leads. Pretty simple, right? So what happens? When I get a seller lead, what do I get? What do I want from that seller lead?
Listing.
I want a listing. So when it goes to a listing, then I want a listing assistant right here. So the minute it goes to contract, I want somebody taking care of the contract. When I get a buyer, and by the way, we got so good at converting buyers into appointments that we had 18 people wanting to help them this month to find a house. And we're like, whoo, how do we do that? Okay, leverage. We put in a showing assistant to help the buyer's agent. Okay, as soon as the buyer goes into contract, it goes down here to the transaction coordinator. Is this looking like a baseball diamond to you guys? Okay, so as soon as this one goes to contract on the listing, it goes here. When it goes to contract, which means it goes into escrow, it goes into the transaction coordinator, and the transaction coordinator is right here with First American, making sure that everything happens and that everybody back up here knows what's going on, because we want the flow to be going this way, but we want the information to be going back up here so that customer service winds up happening, and that's specialization. And so guess what happens? This is so cool. Okay? With specialization, what winds up happening is synergy. So I list Brian's house, and Brian wants to go buy another house. What do I do? I say, hey, Brian wants to buy another house. Buyer gets a sign call from Brian, and Brian says, yeah, I got a house to sell. Guess what happens? Referral back over here. All of a sudden, the business that was like this is going like this. Because everybody's in the business of lead generating. We're focused on lead generating listings, and everybody's talking about what do we do to leverage it so that we can provide that same high level of customer service to every one of the people that says, I want to do business with Steve Chater. Because remember, it's your name. It's your reputation. Don't go cheap.
Steve, I've got a couple questions to ask on that. Probably
I've
questions.
been on the roll, so.
That's great. You're passionate and knowledgeable. Okay, so two questions. First one is, how do you get over that, people will only want to work with me? What if it feels to people like I'm pushing them off or handing them off to somebody else? So that's question number one.
Yep.
And question number two is branding, because this is one of the questions I got asked. Use your name to brand your company or not your name to brand your company, like a company name or logo?
How do you teach people to do business when they want to do business with you? You have to train your clients. So you have to have a system. So I'm going to ask you a question. Who has the reputation for making the best French fries in the world?
In and out.
I mean, in the world. Who is it?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. It's the Golden Arches. How do they do it?
Same way. Everywhere.
Okay, yes. So what does that look like?
Good potatoes.
Okay. So how does this happen? So look at this with me, all right? Somebody says, you go into a McDonald's, you say, I want some French fries. And so somebody goes and they open up the freezer door and they take out a white package, and what do they do with the white package?
Drop it in the case.
Paper and all? Yeah. Okay, they open the top, then what do they do?
Pour it in the basket.
They take it and they pour it in the basket. Then what do they do? Pick the basket up off the thing, put it down in the oil, then what do they do? Press the button for the timer. Okay, you guys have all seen this? It is a system, and in that system, doesn't matter where you go in the world, you wind up getting what are arguably the best French fries, and they're made by a 16-year-old kid who does not know how to make his bed or clean his room.